Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here with what will be my final video speculating about the Fetchland reprints. So I made a couple of these before and I've given my thoughts about them, but I think I've arrived at a conclusion for me. So I've done on my channel before, I had somewhere, one of my videos, I was selling my 20 Zendikar Fetchlands. And I actually sold them taken care of for the ridiculous prices. I can't pull it up this second because my internet's acting weird, but they were going for, $100 a Scalding Tarn, $100 a Misty Rainforest, $50 Verdant Catacomb, like that kind of range. And it's a bit crazy given that it's only been in the last 3 to 4 months have the spikes been happening. Now, a lot of the pause in price growth, I think, is due to the fact that it's not a major modern season that I think people are afraid to invest in them right now. Most people who need them have them already for modern, and so they're waiting to see if they're reprinted in Huey block, because if they are, then in the modern tournament later this year, it will be much more sought after and will probably rise in price if they're not reprinted. So for me, I sold my Zendikar fetches because I think that they're at a good high and I didn't want to hold on to them. Does that mean you should sell your Zendikar fetches? Should you be afraid of a reprint? And this is my speculation about it. For me, I'm actually more concerned, and I'm trying to get rid of my Onslaught fetches. And here's my thought process. So if you look at the fetches, so we have the enemy colored fetches from Zendikar, which are modern border and can play in modern, and we have the 5 that are in Vintage and Legacy, and these were much older and don't fit into modern right now, and so they can't be used in modern. Both prices are actually pretty similar. Polluted Delta and Flooded Strand are actually fairly close in price to Misty Rainforest and Scalding Tarn, which is reasonable given just how old they are and how much they do see play. And the others all fit into similar categories. I don't think Wooded Foothills, Sweet Heath, Mire are probably in the same range as the others. So overall, the fetches are pretty much at the same spot in terms of value and in terms of speculation. For me, unlike in Shocklands, which they put them all 10 together in a block, sure they break them up, but they do put all 10 together in a block. I don't think you really need to do that with Fetchlands. I mean, Fetchlands tend to be, you're searching for 2 options and you can grab Shocklands. So if you have all the Shocklands available to you, do you really need all the fetches? Well, if you look at modern right now, and Legacy, but mostly modern right now, we only have the 5 Zendikar fetches, and yet they're still booming, they're still like crazy in use, and you have the Shocklands to grab. So between just these 5 and the Shocklands, you have a pretty close to perfect mana base. The reason why these are so expensive are because they're by themselves in modern. What happens if Wizards does not reprint the Zendikar fetches? Because think about it, Zendikar came out in 2009. 2009 is really not that long ago. It's 4-ish years ago. And if we look compared to Onslaught came out in 2002. So that's 12 years ago versus 4 or 5 years ago. So there's a huge difference in terms of just the printing of the card. My guess is what will happen is they're going to reprint just the Onslaught fetches. This will do 2 things. It will reprint the Onslaught fetches, and that will help with their prices in terms of them being very expensive and old. They will bring them into modern, so now we'll have 10 fetch land opportunities. And I think that if they just print the 5 Onslaught, it will bring down the total value of all 10. Because suddenly, if you're running a deck that requires blue, which is the reason that Misty and Scalding Tarn are the most expensive, because blue is a serious color for fetch lands, if you have only 2 options, you need to go for those options. Let's say you have 4 options. Suddenly, you really don't need to necessarily have the same value card. You could pick, if Flooded Strand is cheaper than Scalding Tarn, go for the Flooded Strand. If Misty Rainforest is cheaper than Polluted Delta, go for Misty Rainforest. Whatever the option is in terms of the value, if you have double the number of opportunities, it's going to lower the price of everything. So my thought is likely, I don't think this fall, I think it's a bit soon and it's a bit reactionary to what's going on in Modern, but it's possible. But I would guess almost definitely, I'm going to say 99% chance by next fall, they're going to reprint Fetchlands, period. My guess is they're going to reprint only the 5 Onslaught fetches. I think that would make a lot of sense. It would prevent them from flooding the market and appearing overly reactionary to Zendikar by reprinting Zendikar lands that were just in print for 4 or 5 years ago. So my guess is 5 Onslaught fetches would print in the next year and a half. And that's all they need to do, I think, to bring down the overall prices. I think it will drop, the blue lands will probably drop down to $75, maybe. 50 to 75. It depends. If they put in a standard set, it might go down to even 50 or even less. Depends on, I mean, people will buy the boxes like crazy. They always do for these kind of things. So I do think that's very much a possibility. And I think that would be healthier for the format than if they just say, oh, reprint all 10 fetches, or even just reprint the 5 Zendikar fetches. I think it'll be overall healthier for formats, and I think it'll also be healthier for the strategy Wizards is going to take with reprinting stuff for Modern. I don't want Wizards to just cash out and say, let's try to shove cards that we didn't expect necessarily to be crazy expensive. Let's just try to shove them in, and that way they're reprinted and more people. No, Magic is a collectible game. It's a collectible trading card game, and I don't like the idea of them just reprinting for the sake of reprinting. I think it's fair they reprint the Onslaught lands, and I think it will overall help bring down the Zendikar lands. It's a 2-for-1, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and I think it'd be the wisest course of action. So whether I'm right or not, we'll have to see, but let me know your guys' thoughts about the Fetchland reprint opportunities. Put it down below in the comment section. I'll be happy to talk to you about it down there. If you enjoyed the video, tap the like button. If you're new to the channel, check in and subscribe. As always, Roxabox90 signing out. See you guys next time.